this single motherhood. We are getting very tired of women choosing to be single mothers, okay? You see the divorce rates. You see that 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by women. It is women that are initiating the breakup of families, not men. Not men. It's women that are initiating the breakups of families. There are 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by women. And then women want to cry single motherhood when it's you that's initiating divorces, when it's you that are initiating breakups. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh my God, am I on? Okay, here I am. Hello and welcome to the Black Eye Podcast. I am your host, Michelle. Welcome all the YouTubers and my podcast followers. Thank you for joining me today. Well, as you heard in the video, the opening segment here, this wonderful man is outraged because women choose to be single mothers. I like how he has this kind of weird assessment of that. And it got me to thinking about why women initiate divorces. And, well, I came across this article, very interesting article, entitled Millennial Men Want 1950s Housewives After They Have Kids. And I was perplexed and perturbed, to say the least, because the idea that millennials who actually grew up watching women work outside the home, become entrepreneurs, become executives, become lawyers, doctors, whatever, become professionals, how the millennial men came into the idea that all of a sudden, what a woman has achieved in her career doesn't matter once the children come. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm wondering, where did this come from? Where did this idea come from? Because women, we've been trained and we understand, especially black women, we have to understand that there's nobody out here that's going to take care of us. We have to pretty much take care of ourselves. So we go out there, we get our education, we work hard, we get that PhD, we become lawyers, we become doctors. We want to have a family. Men tell us, well, you can't have it all. And you get some little woman, and I don't want to discount her experience, a woman's experience, but she's here oh, well, I chose my career and, I wanted a family. And it's okay, you made that choice though. How do you explain women who have a career and make a career and have kids and have marriage? How do you explain those women? So then we come into this thing called a falsehood, that feminism is a falsehood and female empowerment is a falsehood. And it really isn't, because feminism did what it was supposed to do, which was allow or empower women to be whomever they wanted to be, not just what society dictated that they should be. So, millennials, having grown up, understanding feminism, the feminist movement, female empowerment, suddenly want June Cleaver, and this is me quoting from the article here, June Cleaver, after the children are born. And the idea that a woman wants to be a single parent, that galls me to no end. I tell you, it does, Because I believe, and for the most part, in situations, women are looking for a relationship and they believe they're in a relationship. Just like these married women who marry these men, they're lawyers, they're doctors, whatever, and they're in the women are in a partnership. You know, we're in a partnership. We're going to raise these kids together. We are going to support each other. Blah 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 blah. The women are in these relationships, but the men are not. And it's the same with single motherhood. But my other question is, and I'm delving all over the subject here, is the assumption is that the women weren't single mothers already and that the divorce just made it official. Now, you can ask me, what inspired you to talk about this today? And it was really this article. Before this, I had these questions before the article, but then I had the opportunity to read this article. Millennial men want 1950s housewives after they have kids. And it is inspired by a book about how women are outpacing men in the workforce while also being saddled with a second shift to fulfill household duties. And I can't tell you how many times I have seen this. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this. The woman goes, she goes to work. Before work, she's getting the kids ready for school. She's making sure they have their homework. She's navigating the parent-teacher conference. All the things that the kids need for whatever kind of thing that the school's got going on. That's before work. And then she goes to work. She works all day. She comes home. And then she's got to do this all over again. What the kids are going to wear, what the kids are going to eat, their bath times, their doctor's appointments. All it's a whole nother thing on top of work that has to be done. At the job. So this article the ambition, I think it is the ambitious like a mother is the title of the book, which I haven't read yet, and I'm looking forward to reading. But this article shed some light on why women do initiate divorce, and one of the many reasons on why women initiate divorces. And I was hoping, let's talk about it. Let's read this article. So the article goes on to say the ambition of millennial women has long been lauded from their girl power childhoods to their PhDs. Women are now the backbone of the workforce. In 2018, 74 men earned bachelor degrees for every 100 women. That's a power dynamic, right? Some 64% of women are now breadwinners or equal earners in their households. And no wonder. They've grown up being told that women are able to do and be anything until they become mothers. Now, again, where did that idea come from that once you become a mother, you are no longer a viable human being? Where did that come from? And to me, I would say, well, there is no patriarchy, really. But when you read articles like this, and when you observe life the way I observe life, you come to realize that there's something akin to patriarchy. Because why don't these ideas die? Why don't they die? Why don't they die? Millennial men and women have been we've grown up seeing women in the workforce. So what makes a woman less viable as a mother? Anyways, here we go. At that point, many of their partners apparently expect them to turn into June Cleaver on Leave It to Beaver. Not even a real character, by the way. Lara Bazelon's new book, Ambitious Like a Mother, explores how working mothers get tasked with a second shift, i.e., all the domestic and family work that occurs after paid work ends for the day. Even among households where partners initially split chores equally, childcare ends up falling to mothers. 75% of moms are the ones who assume responsibility for appointments like children's checkups. They're also 4 times more likely than their partners to miss work to take care of a sick child. A statistic that became all too clear during the COVID pandemic, even in normal times, even in normal times, women spend approximately 2 hours more per day tending to domestic work than their partners. A 2013 research paper by economics professor Francine D. Blau and Lawrence M. Kahn claimed that modern men do not adjust the amount of time they dedicate to housework based on their wives' employment status. And, that is an attitude issue. I hate to talk about the manosphere. I really do. I try not to talk about them, but they always pop up somewhere in my podcast. I can't really help it. But, they really do preach this idea that women's accomplishments are not important. They talk about females, and they put you in a category. They put all women in a category where, it's almost like, and I don't really like this show, but it's The Handmaid's Tale, It's all your accomplishments amount to nil. Because your job, your duty, your responsibility as a woman is to give birth. That's your job. And it's almost as if the attitude is, we allow you to walk around and get this education in the hopes, or some sort of weird tacit agreement that after you get this out of your system, you're going to want a family and some children, and we'll probably be here waiting for you. And I think that's what the rage is. That women are not, well, at least they shouldn't be, beating down the door for marriage. And they're not needing men in the same way that our grandparents needed men. There were 100 years ago. Women needed a man to have a house, needed a man to have a bank account, needed a man to take care of her because she wasn't allowed to take care of herself. Women simply weren't allowed to take care of themselves. And now we can. Now we can go out and work. We can become professionals. We can become lawyers, doctors, bartenders, whatever the hell we want to be. And now men don't know what to do. It threatens their masculinity. And I think part of this is part of what I'm reading in the article is that attitude. It may be a passive attitude. I don't know if they're consciously feeling it, because they do start out helping with the chores. But at some point, a switch turns off and they feel that this is not their responsibility. Taking care of the children is not their responsibility. Does that make sense? So, it goes on to read, in other words, putting in long hours at the office doesn't mean your husband is necessarily going to pick up the slack and wash out the baby bottles. No. Again, that's that switch I'm talking about. That maybe he feels as though that's not his responsibility. That's not his job. That's a woman's job. That's a woman's work to take care of the baby. Maybe. Women are exhausted, and many of their partners just aren't helping. One mother in Bazelon's book explained that even though she out-earned her husband, she was still responsible for, quote, anything related to schoolwork, doctor's appointments, my child's IEP plan. My husband didn't make any effort to understand it. And you know how frustrating that is? Like you're trying to talk to your husband or your spouse about things that are going on with the children, and he's just not interested. So my question is, I guess, so far that I've read this article, is patriarchy an innate thing to men? Because, again, I'm saying, and I know I'm in danger of repeating myself, millennials grew up with feminism. Did they not? The same feminism that women grew up with. So, they know that women are coming into, at least they should know, that women are coming into this relationship as a partner, not as submissive, which I can't stand that word. God, I can't stand that word, especially when it applies to women. But not as an underling, but as an equal partner, building together a life together. And it just seems that in the society and in the YouTube streets, that this kind of attitude with women is frowned upon. That we are actually looking for a partner. And it's seen as masculine. Anyhow. Professional working mothers who find themselves with partners who are unwilling to make that shift in perspective and allocation of time and resources have a tough choice, writes Bazelon. Radically compromise who they are and what they want to stay in the marriage or leave. That's quite a choice there. Plenty of women opt for the latter, according to a 2015 study by the American Sociological Association. Women initiate 69% of divorces, and among college-educated women, it's 90%. Huh. Interesting. Very interesting. Because women know, that if we are doing all of the work, we are the husbands, we are our own husbands, we are our own wives, we are the fathers and the mothers to the children, then we have to ask ourselves, what is the point in being in the marriage? So maybe the men aren't all wrong when they talk about women being masculine. Because obviously the men aren't being masculine. The men aren't taking their places. The men aren't meeting a woman, a true woman, a whole woman, where she is. Bregan Jane, whom Bazelon interviewed for the book, initially tried to tell herself that she was okay with the traditional gender roles. And you try to tell yourself, this is fine. It's good. It's going to be all right. However, she found that her contributions around the home were never fully valued. Her husband gave people the impression that she was his, quote, his spoiled wife, end quote. She divorced him, started flipping homes, and became an HGTV host who helps build homes for families in need. Her kids could not be more excited about her work. Another woman Bazelon spoke to spotted the problem early when her fiancé told her she would have to, quote, lower her ambitions if they were going to have children. Gosh, lower your ambitions if you want to have kids. That's what she had to do, lower her ambitions. She broke off the engagement instead. Smart woman. Bazelon experienced this choice herself. In addition to author, she is also a lawyer. Following the birth of their children, her own husband hoped she would, quote, stop chasing after bigger, harder projects so that I could be more, quote, be more present, end quote. She felt certain her children would understand her need for fulfilling work and would benefit by knowing that mom is out there making the world a better place. She had a great point. Studies show that children of working mothers are just as well adjusted as and have no more behavior problems than their peers. And this is true. This is very, very true. I just want to talk about this for a second because I don't know what alternate reality these men and some of these women are living in, but women of lower classes, working class women, always had to work outside of the home. They always worked outside the home. They always had a job. Whether it was scrubbing floors, whether it was doing laundry. I mean, they weren't high-paying jobs, but women were always working. 100 years ago, women were working in factories. So, this idea that if you were poor or you were staying at home, just being poor, no. Women always had to work. They always had to work, especially the lower class. It was only the higher classes that looked down on jobs and work and all that kind of stuff because, of course, they didn't have to do it. But if you were a lower class woman, especially a lower class black woman, you had to work. You had to go out there and find something you could do. So, this idea that the world was better 100 years ago or 150 years ago, that's bullshit. Because women always went outside. And what if your husband died? Or no, he up and left. What were you going to do? Sit there and just, starve to death? No. You couldn't do that. You had to get out. You had to go to work. Massachusetts realized that. New York realized that early on in the 1800s. You can't prohibit women from working. It's stupid. Even when they prohibited women from working, whatever. But, the history, life was that women worked outside the home. They were servants. They were whatever they needed to be. Her own husband, this is Bazelon's husband, the lawyer and the author, however, did not understand. And she was saying how her children would understand that she needed this work. The couple divorced. Not an easy solution by any means, but working mothers who get divorced report that they are happier. I wonder why. Satisfaction? You know that you can rely on yourself at the very least. You know that you can count on you. You're not constantly coming home to disappointment, rage, anger, frustration. Another child isn't added to the already 2-3 children that you have. You feel confident because there's a grown-up in the room. I wonder why women are happier after they get divorced. from a dead weight after they free themselves from the anchor. In Bazelon's case, and I keep mispronouncing her name. If I done that, I apologize. She found that sharing custody of her children creates protected time pockets where I can be productive and focus on her work with fewer distractions and with the full knowledge that childcare duties are truly being divided equally. Why does it take a divorce? What's missing? That it takes a divorce for a man to spend time with his children. Why? And yet you have, in my opening video, you have this man who is enraged because he says women choose to be single mothers. They choose it. They break up the family. When the truth of the matter is, women were already single mothers in the marriage. Because you can be a single mother in the marriage. People don't think that. You think once you get married that it's going to be, we're going to be partners. We're going to work together. Nah. If you have a high earning man, he's going to be gone most of the time. If you don't have a high earning man and he's one of the, you got babies at home, he's going to be gone. I got news for you, ladies. You're going to be married single mothers. Those are the facts. You are going to be married single mothers. The only difference is, when he's here, will he take the time to take care of the kids, or does he not care? Does he care or does he not care? But the sad thing about this is that it took a divorce for him to care for the kids while his wife works. That's what it took. It took a divorce to divide the child care and the duties up equally. Because marriage didn't do it. The bell didn't ring in the marriage. It rang in the divorce. And it goes on to read, in 2022, for families to thrive, husbands may need to start supporting their wives' careers the way wives have supported their husbands for generations. God, how many stories? How many stories? Women aren't going to go backwards. Hell no. Hell no. If men want relationships to last, they'll have to go forward into the 21st century. Now, there's a lot to chew on here with women who supported their husbands' careers. I mean, and I was just talking, how many stories have you heard where the woman, the wife, worked and put the husband through school? And then the little jerk goes off and gets himself a young secretary and leaves the wife with the kids. How many stories have we heard about the wife who sacrificed everything so that her husband can be the center of attention? How many of those stories? And so now is the time, because it's never been a better time to be a woman, but I don't get what's going on with the men. Like, I really don't. I don't understand how they're stuck in the 1950s, and they really paint this ridiculous picture of how life was better when women were at home and women don't need an education. And I mean, I don't get that. Where did that come from? What alternate reality? What alternate reality bus are you driving into stupidity that made you believe that women were better off without education, without an ability to work, without an ability to thrive? And how is it that millennials are stuck on stupid? How is this? Whose fault is this? Is there a pervasive patriarchy that's innate to men? Obviously, it's not all men, but the dissenting voices are loud enough to be heard by young men or easily influenced young men. So, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm off kilter. I mean, maybe these women are out here like, Michelle, you know you're wrong. You know, you're supposed to support your husband and you're supposed to give up your career for your children. Look, I made a choice to be a stay-at-home mom. Because, you know, the daycare situation is a terrifying situation. But once the kids got into school, you know, you're going to need a career. You're going to need something. You're going to need something because the kids are going to go to school all day long. Then what are you going to do? I'm not the type of person who obsesses about cleaning house. I'm not. I will clean it once a week. I will vacuum. I don't like a dirty house. I'm not, but I don't obsess about that. I really don't. You know, I'm not June Cleaver. And I'm sure many women like myself out there in the world are like, yeah, you know, I do laundry once a week. You know, I'm not one of those people who obsess about housework. So I need stimulation. I need to read. I need to create. I need to do things for my own sanity. Because these are things they don't tell you. They don't tell you that in the manosphere. Men can't tell women how to be women. They really can't. They can't tell you that your life is better off at home. They don't know that. Obviously, they did not read about stay-at-home moms who were drunks. You know, maybe June was doing, you know, she was having her claret or her little wine on the side. Because I can't believe she was like vacuuming all day and doing laundry. And she was a little too daggone cheerful. I mean, she had good kids and all. Fairly decent husband. But anyways. Let me know what you think about this. I mean, these are my thoughts. This is me talking on YouTube, talking on my podcast about women's issues, women empowerment. I feel that women get the shaft and that there's some sort of attack on women coming in all directions. And that I like to call what men are going through right now histrionics, where they believe that women are too much, too masculine, which I find perplexing and funny and confusing. And I really want to contribute my tiny little voice in that female empowerment. And again, let me know what you think. I mean, let me know how you feel. What do you think? Leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for listening. Until next time, be blessed.